Hello, everyone. Welcome to Super Podcast Action Committee, episode 138. Andrew Eisen here, along with Zachary Knight. Hello, Zachary.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Andrew.
Hello. I do apologize if I'm a bit lacking in energy this week. I'm tired. I'm moving. This is the last time you will see this apartment. This unit here, the Murphy bed, and this whole wall unit, that belongs in this apartment. That's not coming with me. You'll notice the Powerpuff Girls are not on the wall anymore. And, lots of
Everything's in
boxes. So,
Yep.
I move out Monday. So I'm in that very awkward phase where, I don't have, well, I guess except for that right there, there's not much left that I can pack because I'm kind of using it right now, like my clothes and toiletries and food and dishes and, my computer and things like that, which makes me incredibly anxious because I feel like I should be putting something in a box. But one thing that's nice is the DVD racks you can see way over there. I've got one sitting right next to me, and I bought a pallet wrap, which is it's basically like a plastic wrap, Reynolds wrap, only like a 2-foot wide sheet of it. So I'm going to pallet wrap the DVDs right onto their shelves and just dolly them out of my apartment, which is nice because I calculated the space. That actually saves me 12 large boxes doing it that way. Matthew asks, any update to the IGN application? Nope. Never heard from him, so I'm going to guess that's a no. I know they hired a new community manager this week. I forget her name, but that wasn't the job I was going for anyway. So if they have hired someone, I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of stressed, but a friend of mine, I have said on the podcast in the past that there's a video series I want to do called 30 Days of Netflix, which every time Netflix offers me a month free trial of Netflix, I take it and I watch it and I cancel it and take advantage of them like that because I'm a jerk. Unfortunately, every time I get a free trial, first world problems, I'm busy, I'm doing a guide for IGN or I'm doing stuff where I just don't have time to do that. But a friend of mine gave me 3 months of Netflix for free. So I could probably find I'm not going to do 90 days of Netflix, but I do want to try and do a 30 days of Netflix series of videos where I watch something new every day. Not that any of you give a damn what I think, but or at least let's see, a little over 10 of you. But I think it's going to be an interest to see if it's something anyone would be interested in watching, and also just as a personal challenge to see if I can actually churn out that much content in that short a time. Also, I watched Daredevil, all of it, which helped. Which is also why I'm tired, because I haven't slept. Because it's 13 episodes and they're all 55 minutes long. Good show. I liked it. If you have Netflix, I recommend checking it out.
I've watched the first 7 episodes, and yes, they are really good. It can get pretty brutal at times, but overall, it's not gratuitous.
No,
I think so far the most gratuitous scene that I've seen is where Kingpin takes a guy's head off with the car door. That's probably the most gratuitous scene because you hear the thud 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 thud, and then eventually it starts going into and then splat.
It was pretty awesome.
Yes. Yes, it was.
Delirical says that should be interesting. I hope you're talking about my 30 Days of Netflix series, because it's something I've wanted to do for a while. And I actually tried it with, kind of did a test run with like a 2-week trial of Hulu. And I talked about, I think, the Human Centipede, Jugface, a really old Japanese movie called 47 Ronin,
Hmm.
or at least some number, and something else, Sankarea, which is I watched the first 5 episodes of a anime where a guy gets a zombie girlfriend.
Interesting.
No, it wasn't. Actually, if you if what's interesting is the way I did the videos. I watched the first 4 episodes and I talked about it. And I said, "Yeah, it's a really interesting show. It defied my. I've watched a lot of anime, so I'm like, I know where this is going, but no, it went in directions I wasn't expecting, and I was like, okay, now I'll watch episode 5, and it cuts to black. And it's like 22 minutes later, and it comes back to me. I'm like, it sucks, and I don't want to watch any more of this stupid show. Um, yeah, maybe it gets better. Maybe people tell me that it's different and better in the manga. I'm sure it is. I've actually. Oh, I was about to tilt the camera over to my bookshelf, but there are no books on it anymore, so to show my manga collection. But anyway, yeah. So I thought those were fun videos to do, and I got a decent response. So I think the 30 Days of Netflix thing could be fun. Also, I have really eclectic taste in film, so um, you could see
You
me
should
do
get a
every.
wide variety of.
Yeah, I mean, you'll probably see me do I'll do foreign films, maybe a couple episodes of a cartoon. I actually would like to see one of those animated Tinkerbell movies, just because I hear they were actually pretty good, and I like animation. There's also a movie that's in another language. I think it's called The Girl with the Blue Hair. No, blue is the warmest color, I think.
I don't
Which
know.
is a relationship film about two people who are in a relationship, and one of them has blue hair. And the movie I actually have almost no interest in seeing this movie, but the movie apparently has a really explicit sex scene in it. So explicit that people are like, dude, do you think they, you know, actually did it? Well, now I have to see the movie. The answer is no. No, they probably didn't. Who cares if they did? Because I'm sure they're both adults. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know. I haven't checked IMDb, and I don't know what country it was filmed in anyway. But it's one of those things that it became a real big topic of conversation in certain areas in the air. It's like, all right, I got to see it. And hopefully, the movie isn't like 3 hours long and boring. I really know nothing about the movie other than
Yeah.
one girl has blue hair and the characters have sex and it's graphic. That's all I know. Hopefully, there's some explosions.
For some people, that might be all they need to know.
You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's some. You can, although you're not going to see anything until after I move out of here. I was trying to get one more video done. I was going to show off all my Powerpuff stuff, my Powerpuff paraphernalia, but as you can see, it's all packed now because I have a lot of it.
You can do that as you unpack.
I could. I thought it would be fun to show some of that stuff off because I have if you've watched this show, you've seen it on the wall behind me. It's gone now, but you can kind of see it right there. Those tied around the coffee can, those are actually Buttercup shoelaces. They're like this wide though, so that I can't lace up my boots with them. They're just too big, so I just tied them around my. That's a can full of change, which the place I'm moving to uses coin-operated laundry machines. So I'm very glad I have that. And yes, this is This is as disgusting as it looks. This is dinner. It's mostly baby spinach and chard and stuff like that. Yum yum. Did I play any video games this
I
week?
had red beans and rice with smoked sausage and fruit salad for dinner, so
Nummy
I
nummy.
think I had the better one.
Yeah. Um, Trying to think, did I play it? Oh, I finished Valkyria Chronicles. So this Nintendo fanboy has finally finished his first PS3 game.
Nice.
Now, to be clear, that's not the first PS3 game I ever played. I do play other systems, you know. I'll try things out in Fry's Electronics or GameStop or something. But this is the first full I beat the game type of finish.
Yeah.
Great game. Really loved it. I wish
say
2 and
that
3
about
were.
any of my PS3 games.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think. Have I actually beaten any of them yet? Yeah, it feels so since forever since I've actually beaten a game, but yeah. But no.
In Short Sight, who I think that name is new to the chat, so welcome. Says Powerpuff Girls video. Yes. All right, I'll definitely try and get that done sometime.
All right.
I finally got my Sarkeesian video done, which
Yes,
I've
I
been
saw
talking about for a while.
I didn't actually look at any of the comments, so
You don't.
did you get
need
any of the
to.
expected ones?
Yeah. To be honest, while there are plenty of people who came in just to say, the video is my favorite thing about Sarkeesian's tropes versus women videos, but a lot of people felt the need to come in and tell me everything they don't like about her videos, which seems a little off topic, but to the people who commented on my YouTube channel, with only 1.5 exceptions, everyone was civil and polite about it.
That's good.
Things got heated. There were very strong opinions, but no one was, hostile or abusive. Or one guy I asked to watch his language because he was calling the other person a naughty name. And another person just showed up on my channel and wrote in all caps some very unpleasant things, so I just banned him or her. But other than that, that was it. Apparently, Sarkeesian herself saw the video and tweeted it out, said, hey, look, someone making a video about me and it's positive. That's refreshing. Something new. So, Delirical says the Sarkeesian video was really good. Thank you. The unfortunate thing was I wrote if you check out my Facebook page, you saw this, but I lost my voice. I worked on the video the Sunday before it went up, and my voice just started getting rough. And I was like, oh, man. And now I had one paragraph to go, and my voice just started to go. And I'm like, I could have done it, but you would have had blah, 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 blah-de, blah-de, blah, and it would cut to a clip from Sarkeesian's videos, and then it would be, and here's the conclusion, and blah. The voice just didn't match.
Yeah.
And I wasn't quite at 100% the next day, so I ended up filming it Tuesday night. I didn't get home till 10. So I did have the rest of it edited, so all I had to do is finish the last film the last paragraph, upload it to my PC, drop it in, render it out, check it, and upload it to YouTube. And I uploaded it, I think, at 4 minutes after midnight, which means it went up on April 1st. So there were a bunch of people like, it's an April Fool's Day joke, right? Like, no, no, damn it, it's not an April Fool's joke. It doesn't even make any sense. I mean, seriously, what is the joke? I mean, seriously, what is the joke? Ha ha, I fooled you. I don't really like thinking about the media I love in new ways. April Fools. Really, I don't know. But anyway, so play anything interesting this week, Zachary?
Playing. I downloaded Square Enix's Final Fantasy Record Keeper, which is a mobile game, and
I have heard varying opinions on that. What did you think?
I've played it for a little bit. I probably put in about a good 4 hours into it, and style-wise, gameplay-wise, for the most part, I find it a very enjoyable experience. It's nice seeing seeing all these battles and monsters from previous Final Fantasy games, games that I enjoyed playing and stuff. And it's fun having all these 3D Final Fantasy characters, from 7 onward, being rendered as 2D sprites in the same style as Final Fantasy VI, and it's like it's fun doing all that. The gameplay isn't especially difficult. It's overall it's a really really fun light RPG. My only problem is the game expects you to grind in order to gain levels and get gil and materials to upgrade your weapons and spells and everything. But the game also expects you to wait for to only be able to grind for 30 minutes a day, because it uses that stupid stamina system that all annoying mobile phones do. So it's like the game wants you to grind, but it forces you to stop grinding after 30 minutes.
Can you, Delyrical's asking exactly how the game works.
Okay, well, Final Fantasy Record Keeper it's basically the magical world of the Final Fantasy save system. Essentially, is the way it comes across to me. It's like when you save your game in a Final Fantasy game, this magical hall of pictures saves that save in a painting. Okay, so you've got these paintings of all these key events in Final Fantasy games, and that's where the records are kept and how the worlds are kept alive and all that stuff. And then something mystical happened. I haven't gotten to a point where it actually explains what happened, but all these paintings started to fade, and so your job as a record keeper is to go into these paintings and reenact these scenes, but really all you're doing is just fighting a bunch of monsters and then a boss at the end. But you're reenacting these scenes to revitalize the paintings, and then you just go on through multiple games, and so it starts you off in a couple of levels of Final Fantasy VII, and then it goes to Final Fantasy X, and then back to Final Fantasy IV and V, and I have those are the only ones I've unlocked so far. And really all it is you just go in and you fight monsters from these various games and fight bosses from these various games, and then you can get characters there. You get the generic fighter and black mage and white mage and characters like that, but you also get story characters. Like you get Kain from Final Fantasy IV, Rydia from Final Fantasy IV. I've got Waka from 10, Tifa from 7, Cloud from 7, and then I think that's all I've gotten so far from story character-wise. But yeah, you just fight monsters and stuff, and I would love to play this game more often, but that stamina system's just it's driving me up a wall, because I've reached a point where it's if I want to continue, I've got to level up like 5 more levels higher than where I'm at, plus upgrade my equipment. But in order to do that, I'd have to be able to play the game for like 3 or 4 hours straight. But the game wants to stop me at 30 minutes in because I use up all my stamina.
Yeah.
So, that's, if that stamina system just wasn't there, I think it would be an enjoyable game and worth the download and playing. But I really can't recommend it for that. But other than that, that's all I've done this week. But I watched part of Daredevil, and I finished watching the 2 seasons of R.L. Stein's The Haunting Hour that was on Netflix. There's 4 seasons total, but only the first 2 are on there. And I really got to say that I'm really disappointed in the lack of diversity in the cast of this thing. Goosebumps wasn't overly diverse either, but at least it had, like, every 3 episodes there was a main character that was a person of color or female. But with this one, I think they alternate between male and female for the most part, but really the only non-white characters I've seen are Asian, and I have not seen a single black person in this, not a single Hispanic, nobody from South Asia, like Indian or anything. It's just, Oriental Asian is all that I've seen, and I'm just really disappointed in that. It's like they went from the '90s where it was, a reasonable diverse cast, to the 2010s and pretty much zero diversity in the cast. And so, but other than that, the show is pretty much Goosebumps, so it's enjoyable.
Oh, that's good. All right. Let us talk about the poll this week, which actually is going to take a fair amount of setup here. So, Obsidian ran a Kickstarter for Pillars.
Did you say Obsidian?
Obsidian, right? Obsidian ran a Kickstarter a while back for Pillars of Eternity, a RPG. And it was wild. It was one of the Kickstarter success stories. I think it was just short of $4 million. I think it hauled in. The game itself was released a few weeks ago. People seem to really be enjoying it. One of the backer rewards, the $500 tier, in fact, was included a bunch of things, but one of the things it included was the ability to write a personalized message on a memorial stone that would appear in the game. There were 367 people who backed at the $500 tier, so there should be 367 memorial stones throughout, or all gathered in the same place. Not sure. I haven't played it. Pillars of Eternity that have personalized messages on them, like "Hello, Mom," things like that. One unnamed backer wrote a poem, and here is the poem. Here lies Firedorn, a hero in bed. He once was alive, but now he's dead. The last woman he bedded turned out a man, and crying in shame, off a cliff he ran. It rhymes. So, one Twitter user by the name Ice Queen Erica, whoever the heck this is, saw this particular poem and tweeted to Obsidian, said, "Hey, at Obsidian, you should have said no to this backer. Transmisogyny is not acceptable in 2015. Hashtag Pillars of Eternity." Now, this tweet eventually, via retweets, actually got retweeted 872 times, reached Oblivion's ears, and Oblivion said, "Okay, well, yeah, I saw the tweet. We'll look into it." According to Oblivion, this particular poem was never vetted. Obviously, the personalized message came with some restrictions, probably things along the lines of, no swearing, no, Jeff should die, that jerk, none of that stuff. This one, according to Oblivion, just fell through the cracks. And Oblivion reviewed it and said, "Yeah, we agree. That's a joke that we wouldn't, had we vetted it in the first place, we wouldn't have put it in our game." So Obsidian went back to the original backer and said, "Sir or madam, this particular poem is not going to fly. Would you like to write a new one?" And the backer said, "Sure." And here's the new poem. Here lies Firedorn, a bard, a poet. He was also a card, but most didn't know it. A poem he wrote in jest was misread. They asked for blood, so now he's just dead. I don't have the tweet in front of me, but Ice Queen Erica, the Twitter user who first brought Oblivion and everyone else's attention to this particular epitaph, people were asking her, "Well, what do you think about the replacement?" And she said, it's a jab at me and the whole situation, and I'm fine with that. I'm just glad a joke that I've found uncomfortably transmisogynistic was, replaced, and now I can happily play the rest of the game, which is awesome, and everyone should play it. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but her series of tweets was something along those lines. So the poll this week asks, if you, dear readers, were Oblivion, would you have replaced the epitaph in Pillars of Eternity that some saw as transphobic? And we actually had a decent response this week. 342 people voted. 55%, which was the most, said no, I would have left it be. 18% said yes, as Obsidian did, I would have replaced it with a new epitaph by the original author. 4%, only 12 people, said yes, I would have replaced it with a new epitaph by a new author. 4%, I'm sorry, I think I read that wrong. The first one, no, I would have let it be, was 55%. Yes, I would have done exactly what Obsidian did, was 18%, 62 people. Yes, I would have replaced it with a new epitaph by a new author, was 4%, 12 votes. 2%, only 6 votes, where I would have removed it without replacing it. And 22%, 75 votes, said I would have left leaving it, removing it, or replacing it up to the original author.
Okay.
So, Zachary, do you think Oblivion made the right call here?
It's a good question.
Yes, thank you. It is.
Yes, it is. Let's see. I would say that this was probably the best solution they could have gotten out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they had replaced it by by something written by a new person, or just removed it without replacing it, that would have upset a lot of backers, because that was a paid for tier. It's like
$500.
Yeah, you had to pay a sizable amount of money in order to access that. And I think if they had replaced it by something written by somebody else, or just removed it, then you would have had those other $500 backers saying, okay, when's it our turn to have our stuff replaced or removed? And I don't, they would have been insecure in their Kickstarter Kickstarter fund donation, whatever. So I think that would have been a bad idea. But as Obsidian did, I think what they did was probably the best thing. They recognized that, yes, this is controversial, and they could see why it's controversial, and so they went to the author and said, hey, we really don't like this. It's not something that we would have approved had we known this. This is how it would be read by people. Can you give us something else? That's a good thing. I think, personally, I believe I voted for, I would have just left it up to the author. That's just me. But I think just for me, I don't think the thing was too horrible. Because there's a song, I can't remember who sings it, but the song Lola. Are you familiar with that one?
Yeah.
Lola.
Lola.
That's basically a song
exactly
about
that.
Yeah. But the guy at the end of the song doesn't kill himself.
It's the crying game, the song.
Yeah, and but it's basically the guy meets a girl in the bar, and they have a good time hanging out, and then he goes back to her place, and she turns out to be a man, and he freaks out.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the song, he's like he's like, I wish I could be this way, but I'm a man, and that's not who I am. So it's just like, and I think that song is hilarious, but yeah, I think. But I think letting them replace it was the best thing they could have done.
Reminds me of the film Victor Victoria. I think it's the one with Julie Andrews and James Garner. Have you seen this one?
I don't think so.
Julie Andrews her character is a woman who pretends to be a man who's a professional um, what's the word for it? Not crossdresser, but you know, like what RuPaul does, I guess.
Uh-huh.
I guess that's a professional crossdresser. You know, in she plays a, you know, her character is a person who pretends to be a guy who pretends to be a girl on stage, or pretends to be a guy who pretends to be a girl on stage, which is why she's really good at, because she really is a girl. Uh, James Garner, you know, he's in the audience. He's watching the show of you know, a woman wandering around. And he's like, I am hot for her. And then she's like, I'm actually a guy. And he's like, uh-oh. And so he's like, no, no, I can't be gay. That would be horrible. And so he's all freaking out. This is an older movie. I think it's like 70s or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, no, it's impossible. He's got to be really a girl because I'm not gay, totally not. And so he, if I'm remembering right, I think he like breaks into her room and spies on her in the bath, and he's like, oh, thank God, he's a girl. And then he goes and he grabs her and he says, I don't care if you are a man, and plants one right on her face. And she's like, I'm not a man. He's like, all pretending that he's like, okay, I'm cool with it either way, but he's totally not. Yeah. Also, that movie also has Robert. God, what's his name? He's in Music Man and a bunch of other stuff. I forget his name. Great actor, great performer, a lot of fun. Anyway, so yeah, I agree. I think Oblivion made the right call here. Although if I had to guess, I think the whole this particular joke fell through the cracks. This one wasn't vetted somehow. I'm guessing that's probably a bit of a fib. I think it probably was vetted,
Probably.
and just
Nobody thought it.
No one thought about it. And that's the thing, really, is we don't think about these things typically. I mean, especially, you know, non-trans folks or people who have zero to, well, no experience with anyone who is trans. It's just not something you think about or consider. And you know, a lot of people characterize this as being offended or being angry, and I read a lot of Erica on Ice. What is her name? Erica, Ice Queen Erica, which is a fun handle. She didn't seem to be offended or mad. I mean, she didn't seem to have the opinion that the original author was out to get trans people or LGBT people. It was more along the lines of, you know, it's 2015. We've got to start waking people up to this is actually a thing you need to think about now, because there are trans people out there, and jokes like this can be interpreted in that way, and you want to be careful of that way to make sure that you're being as, especially from the point of view of a mass market video game, as inclusive of as many people as you can. You don't want to drive out your trans audience. You want them to feel just as welcome as everybody else. Now, when you make a shooter where you gun down Nazis, no one's really worrying about offending them. It's like, well, this is not very welcoming or inclusive to the Nazi Party. I don't think anyone cares. You know,
Generally not. No.
Yeah, but you know, another thing that I found interesting is Ice Queen Erica. Did I get that right? Ice Queen Erica is a person who has used the hashtag #KillAllMen, which is a hashtag before a couple days ago I had never heard of and didn't know what it was for. But a lot of people were finding it. Oh, okay, so this person is not allowed to make an obvious joke about trans people or LGBT people, but you're totally allowed to make, you know, genocidal jokes, you know, with the whole kill all men thing. Kind of hypocritical, don't you think? Some say it in a not as polite way. I think there's an interesting distinction between the two, mainly that trans and LGBT people are a marginalized group, despite it being 2015, and men are not.
Yeah.
The other thing is I actually looked up the history of the "Kill All Men" hashtag, and it was never meant to. I'm sure there are some people who use it this way, but it was never meant to literally mean "kill all men." It's more of a, striking back at the oppressive, sexist asswipes who say really mean, sexist things to people.
Yeah.
It's a outlet, it's a vent. It's like, for Christ, kill all men. It's kind of like the old expression, women, you know, can't live with them, can't kill them. That is how it goes, right?
I don't know.
Um, so,
Yeah.
can't we all just get along? I think.
Yeah.
I
So
think pointing out these things is important.
yeah.
I do think some people overreact, but I think educating everybody about the different types of people who are out there is important, and being considerate of other people is important.
Yeah, definitely. And and this is one of those things that game developers need to do. They need to take these
Mhm.
kinds of things into account, and that's going back to your Anita Sarkeesian video and everything, and that's something that you know art critics do. Anita Sarkeesian does this. She points out things that developers need to start thinking about. And and just last week or this past week, I've read an article on NPR about a 12-year-old girl who did some research on female characters in endless runners that she had downloaded. She downloaded 50 endless runners, and hardly any of them offered a girl a character for free. You had
Mhm.
to play the game for like hours upon hours to unlock that girl character or pay to unlock it. It's like Disney had an endless runner where you had to literally pay $30 to unlock the only girl character in this.
Mhm.
Um, and so she did all this research and found the average cost to unlock a girl character was like $7.50, and so which is kind of unreasonable, when it really comes down to it. And she published an op-ed in the Washington Times and or Wall Street Journal or something like that, and NPR followed up on it and found out that the developers behind Temple Run and even Disney themselves said, "Oh, we didn't even think about this," and so they changed their games to accommodate that. And and this is the kind of thing that critics really need to you know you know or this is why these critics are necessary.
I think the other thing that's important for I think most people get this, but I think some people do not, is that Disney and the other folks behind the Endless Runners are not mean, evil, sexist, misogynist people. The fact that there's no female character by default was not an intentionally malicious act, I think, in
Yeah,
almost certainly every single case. It's simply a matter of, holy crap, you know what? We never even thought about that.
yeah,
We just made a guy because that's what you do. And then we thought, all right, we need new content. What could we have? Well, a girl. Yeah, there you go. And then you frame it like, you know what? Out of 50 Endless Runners, none of them have a female protagonist available. The ones that do, you have to pay for. It's like, huh? I
yeah,
never actually thought of that. And, you know, there are some people who are totally upset over this whole thing, which is kind of odd because the only thing that happened was we got more free content, more free or fairly priced content out
yeah.
of this whole thing. Nothing was taken away, you know.
Hmm.
They didn't replace the man characters with female characters. We got in one case we got a new free female character, and in another case, I think it was Disney. They're like, "Yeah, we really overcharged that. Let us bring the prices down on that."
Yeah,
These are, to me at least, really good things. Even if you don't care about these games or playing as a female character, I think more available content at more fair prices is something we should all be able to agree is a good thing.
yeah, definitely. And and I think has developers like Obsidian and others, they get this stuff pointed out. They're less likely to make these mistakes in the future.
Yeah.
I think Obsidian in the future, when they have user provided content through Kickstarter or awards or whatever, they're going to take a little extra care in vetting those, running it by somebody else, saying, "Hey, does this look trans or homophobic to you?" And then
Yeah, because it's simply just in a lot of cases not an angle that people have considered before.
Mm-hmm.
You go back to the damsel in distress trope all the time. It's used because it's used.
That's what we do.
What you do. It's like, make a video game. Okay, well, go rescue the princess. It's like, well, that's done all the time. Go rescue your girlfriend then. You go rescue somebody. That's what you do in a video game. And it takes a different point of view to go, we do that all the time. Is there something else we can do? If we really want to do this, is there a more interesting way we can do this one thing? And I think thinking about that leads to more interesting, more and better games.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all about thinking, except right now because boy do I have a headache. That might have to do with watching nearly 13 straight hours of television while stressing out about a move.
That could do it.
Marcloud over on YouTube asks, are there any amiibos left to buy at reasonable prices? No.
The ones on...
No, there aren't.
If you consider reasonable price the actual retail price, there's plenty on the store shelves at Walmart and Target, but they're just all the common ones.
Yeah. I was actually in Target. Target had a sale on a couple of 3DS games last week. And I was going to go pick up new Super Mario Brothers 2 and Super Mario 3D Land for $15 each. I went to all 4 Targets in my area. None of them had any. Not a single copy. And I was like, hey, yeah, absolutely, I'll buy those games for $15 a pop, no problem. 30? No. 15? Sure, yeah. Yeah, they were all out. Sucks to be me. But while I was there, all the amiibos were on sale for $10. I mean, you certainly weren't going to find Rosalina or Marth or any of the really rare ones, the ones everyone's having trouble finding. But there were, Mario and Link.
I think the last time I was there, they had Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, Donkey Kong, Toon Link, and regular Link, and a couple of Pikachu, I think, and Yoshi. Those are all the common ones. But
although those yarn Yoshis that they're making for Yoshi's Woolly World, those are really cute.
If they're actually made out of yarn, that would be even better.
They are. They're little yarn Yoshis, and they have an NFC chip sewn into their butt.
Oh, nice.
They're really adorable. So good on Nintendo for that. But another thing about I've mentioned before the show started. If you tune in late, I was talking about how tone deaf someone was for buying up a Lego Dimensions domain name and linking it to their publication site. I'm like, oh, dude, do you even have any concept of what that really looks like? Man, dude.
So in the last 40 minutes, Twitch has logged me out.
Yeah, I just got logged out and I had to log back in again.
I don't even remember what my password was.
Matthew, you linked a video? Can you link it again? Because I had to re-log in and I've lost the entire chat.
I didn't see a video.
Yeah, sorry. Now I lost my train of thought. What was it talking about that had a shoot? Something about a tone deaf. Darn. And anyway, next topic.
Anyways,
all
right.
Boy, did I blow that one. Okay, what are we talking about next? The ESA, yeah. Oh, ESA. I remember a few years ago, I was like Team ESA, man, because ESA, because we were all battling for video games to be recognized and respected as an important artistic medium, something that is worthy of critical analysis, something that's mainstream and important to popular culture. Others saw them as children's toys that needed to be regulated because they were violent and made kids kick things. So we spent a long time battling that. There were a lot of stupid laws written, and the ESA, boy howdy, did it have our backs in that fight, and it won. We won. Back in what was it, 2011, the Supreme Court ruled that video games are protected speech. You cannot you cannot regulate them based on violent content. You can't do that. They are just as much important and protected speech as everything else. So, yay! Then the ESA decided to support SOPA and PIPA, and none of us ever liked them again. Oh, man, the thing you linked in the shout box yesterday. Okay, we might get to that. Now, boy, my brain does not work today. What was I talking about? Oh, ESA. So SOPA and PIPA, and we're like, oh no, ESA. And now they are getting in a tiff with the Electronic Frontier Foundation over putting some exceptions in the Digital Millennium Copyright Act over, well, exceptions for things like security research, repairs and modifications for cars, ripping video from DVDs, Blu-ray discs, online streaming, jailbreaking of phones, and reconfiguration of video games that are no longer supported by their publisher, and that's probably the one we want to look at. So basically, old video games that the publisher doesn't support, the servers are shut off, abandonware, essentially. The EFF would like to carve an exception to the DMCA that protects people from, setting up their own server to run an old game that a publisher isn't doing anything with anymore, just for at least archival purposes, just so we don't lose the video games like we've lost most silent film today. Most silent film that was made in the teens and the 20s is gone. We don't have it anymore. It's gone, and that has happened with a lot of video games, especially since film. You shine a light through it and you can see it. Film will always work as long as we can keep the film. It'll be fine. Video games keep jumping formats, so I mean, there's DOSBox, but when we keep moving, there you can emulate DOS, but man, try writing a damn emulator for Windows XP. Good luck with that.
That's
but
tough there.
The ESA is saying no, and I only have a partial quote here. But the ESA does not agree with carving out exceptions to the DMCA ban on messing with stuff, because it says that hacking is an activity that is closely associated with piracy in the minds of the marketplace. We don't want anyone thinking that hacking is lawful. And I don't know why we would ever think that, because most hacking a lot of hacking is lawful in and of itself. It depends on what you're hacking and for what purpose. But what's interesting, we've had discussions about this on Game Politics, is this is incredibly anti-consumer. And I know that the ESA, the Entertainment Software Association, is the organization that represents the interests of video game publishers, not us gamers. They're for the publisher.
Well, they have their AstroTurf group, the Video Game Voters Network. That
good on them.
They're just as worthless as the ESA is when it comes to consumer issues.
Although, as I mentioned somewhere on Game Politics the other day, you would think that the interests of the consumers would be one and the same with the interests of the publishers, and that would trickle down or up to the interests of the ESA, but no.
Yeah.
Nope, not the case. So, what thoughts, Zachary? Because this just irritates me.
To me, just the first thing that irritates me about this whole thing is that that we as consumers, as U.S. citizens, have to go before the government every 3 years and beg for our right to use our property as we see fit.
Mhm.
You know, because that's essentially what this is. It's like we buy a movie, we buy a video game, we have to go and beg the government for the right to use those as we see fit. And to me, that is just antithetical to freedom, to liberty, to fair use and first sale and all this stuff. Um, you know, if we buy a phone, we should be able to use that phone however we see fit, as long as we're not harming the network, you know, harming, you know, the network other people are using and then that the companies are having to take care of, and, you know, not using those to harm other people. You know, that's kind of it. If you're just using it, you know, if you got a phone, you're using it for your own personal use. It doesn't matter what you're using it for. You know, you should be able to do it, and technically you can. It's just not legal, and
Yeah.
and that's where none of this makes sense. It's
Right.
like, you know, the EFF is out there fighting for the right for us to continue playing games that publishers have turned off authentication servers for. You know, because really 99% of the time when your game requires an online connection, all it is it's just authenticating the game.
Like, SimCity. And Zachary went dead. So, let me read something from someone over on YouTube here.
It's not run.
Oh, there, you're
And
back.
oh,
You cut out there for about 10 seconds.
did I? Okay.
Let me
But
go ahead.
oh, as I was saying, is, you know, these authentication servers, if the publisher shuts them down, you can't play your game. The game tries to reach out to these servers that no longer exist, can't authenticate it, so the game won't run. And what the EFF is saying is that if that happens, the gamer should be allowed to hack that game to bypass that authentication check. You know, but they're also saying that, you know, if the publisher shuts down multiplayer servers, you know, gamers should be allowed to create their own multiplayer servers and connect to those. You know, because if the publisher's not going to do it, you know, why can't the gamers do it? And finally, they're saying museums and archivists should be able to do the same thing to preserve those experiences for future gamers. And so here the ESA is saying, no, that's not. We don't want to allow that, because if we allow gamers to continue playing games that they purchased, and for museums to access all the features of games in their collections, then that means that people are just going to pirate games willy-nilly, and we're going to go bankrupt in 5 seconds. And here the ESA is just freaking out, because that's what their job is to freak out over these little things. And you know, and I've read a couple of comments on various websites about this, and those that are in support of the ESA are just they're constantly trying to frame this as a pro-piracy thing. Like, one comment I read um, was, you know, somebody's like, well, if we allow this to happen, then people are no longer going to buy MMOs, because they can just wait 10 years for the MMO to be shut off and then just get the game for free and play it, you know, on third-party servers. And it's just like,
Okay.
no, that's one, not what anybody's saying, and two, not likely to happen. Because if nobody plays an MMO, that means the MMO sucks, and nobody's going to care, you know, 10 years from now. And two, that's not what the EFF is arguing. The EFF is saying that if you bought a game, you should be able to play it in perpetuity. You know, and if you give that game to somebody else or sell that game to somebody else, they should be allowed to play that game in you know, whenever they
Forever.
want, forever.
Yeah.
And that's the whole idea behind this, is that, you know, we should be allowed to play the games that we have purchased, and
Yeah.
that's the key thing. We bought the game. Yeah,
Mhm.
and or yeah. So
A quick comment from AL Justice over on YouTube, and anyone watching on YouTube, if you want to come over to GamePolitics.com, we have or my Twitch channel. We use the chat there. Jan O. Slew SLIW. I see your comments. They're on the last topic, so I'm not going to address them. But sorry, I didn't see them in time to address them on the appropriate topic. But AL Justice Zero says, is the ESA being legit about their stance on preserving games? Is that not the same as preserving art? Is the preservation and care of work produced by blood and sweat and tears a bad thing? I would actually feel honored that somebody took the time and resources to preserve a work of mine, no matter how you obtained it. It's a sign that I've arrived when somebody goes out of their way to make sure my thing survives life. Now, Zachary, as a game developer yourself, what do you think of that?
I think it's very important that people should be allowed to preserve games, and if the publisher's not going to do it or the developer's not going to do it, then yeah, the people who play the game should be allowed to do it. One story that kind of sticks out to me is the story of Karateka, or Karateka, however you want to say it.
I think it's Karateka.
Yeah. Was that the original developer of this game, up until like 5 years ago, thought he had completely lost the source code, like the original source code, and so he was really upset that that he didn't have the source code, and then just one day he was cleaning out his closet and found a bunch of floppy disks in there. And in those floppy disks was the source code for the game, and then he open sourced it, and he's made a couple of other re-releases of the game and everything, and it was a really big deal when this happened, and this has happened with a number of other games too, and so somebody out there should be allowed to preserve it. I think Kingdom Hearts was another game like this, where Square Enix completely lost basically everything, all the assets and all the source code for the original Kingdom Hearts, and they basically had to recreate the game from scratch when they did their HD re-release. And that's a big publisher. Karateka was made by a guy in his home office, and that's understandable for him to lose source code. But for Square Enix to lose the source code for one of their biggest hits, that's insane. And so this stuff needs to be preserved. And if the publishers aren't going to do it, then other people should. And as a developer myself, I haven't made any major games. I haven't made any money off of the games that I have made. But it's just like I feel the need that at a certain point, every game I make should be open sourced. For a few years, while I'm making money off of it and everything, I'll keep the source closed and everything. But generally 5 years after development is kind of my mindset. The game's going to be open source, regardless. It's like, here's all the source code, here's the assets. Do with it what you will. I think to me that's what I feel is my responsibility as a developer and as somebody who cares about game preservation and game as art and future developers. I think giving them that opportunity to learn from me is great, and expand on my work is great. So
cool. Yana Zlu on YouTube corrects my pronunciation of his or her name. I appreciate that. Thank you. So Yana Zlu also says at work, so can't go to game politics. Got to work on a Saturday? That sucks. I got to work weekends sometimes too.
Man, I had a job at one point where I could get on game politics when I first started working there, but eventually they updated their firewalls, and I could no longer connect. And but the funny thing is they only blocked the front end side of it. And this was back when Game Politics was still WordPress, and it was after Dennis had made me a moderator. So I couldn't get to the front end side of Game Politics, but I could get onto the back end, the admin side of Game Politics, so I could still read all the articles and comments and stuff. Nice. So it was kind of funny. Yeah, I couldn't get to the front, but I could get into the back. Yeah. So.
Yeah. John Michael asks, what topic are we guys talking about? Well, we're going to talk about a new topic now. So
All right.
that topic is New Jersey is proposing new penalties for swatting, something that unfortunately is still ongoing. And I think Randy Harper got swatted last week before, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So New Jersey lawmakers want to increase penalties for swatting. Um, Pardon me. Under the current law, penalty for reporting a false public alarm, which apparently is what they categorize this under, is a prison sentence of 3 to 5 years, fine of up to 15 grand or both, a civil penalty of 2 grand, or the actual court costs incurred by emergency service responding to the false alarm. The amendment makes reporting a false public alarm punishable by 5 to 10 years in prison, a fine of up to $150,000 or both, and a civil penalty of $2,000 or the cost of deploying emergency services and law enforcement to the scene of the false alarm. Here's the thing, though. I can respect the idea of increasing the penalty, but most of the people who do the whole swatting thing seem to be kids. So I'm not sure that's going to matter much.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I haven't read a single instance or a single story of swatting, at least not a game-related swatting, where the person calling in making the call was of an adult age or an age where most court systems would charge them and process them as adults. So it's like the last one I remember reading, the kid was 13 years old. It's like, where's a kid going to get $150,000? Where's a kid going to get $15,000? Seriously. And then even then, 3 to 5 years in jail, even if you're going into the juvenile system, that's
a chunk.
That pretty much kills your entire teenage life. Sure, in juvenile systems, you are required to go to school as it is in the juvenile system, where you do go to classes, you get grades and all that stuff, but you're still in jail, in a prison system, and I think personally, I think we throw too many kids in jail for things that really shouldn't be, they shouldn't be going to jail for. But and so.
Well, what about swatting in particular? Do you think that should be a jailable offense for a minor?
For a minor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's we've talked about we've talked about this before in a different podcast, and I think there should be a punishment, but I think the punishment should be in line with the state of mind of the person making the call. If the person just thinks it's funny and thinks it's a joke and doesn't realize
the harm that
they could be doing, I can't really justify sending that person to jail. Give them community service, and mandatory education, whatever you want to do. I think I could get behind that. Now, if somebody actually gets hurt and killed, I could certainly be on the side of making whatever sentence they get stronger and more forceful, because they need to realize that they caused this person to get shot during the swatting that they called in. So they need to recognize that has actual consequences. But locking them in jail for 3 to 10 years or whatever, I think that's probably a little more than what I would consider reasonable. I think even a year in jail might be unreasonable if they're a kid.
Maybe a retaliatory SWAT. If they find out who does it, have the SWAT go kick in their door and chuck in a flash thing, yell and point guns, and it's like, see, not really damn funny now, is it? a lot of this, I think, sadly, and I do truly mean sadly, I think a lot of this swatting, like, the Pillars of Eternity epitaph joke, that some sort of transmisogynistic or LGBT misogynist or whatever. I honestly, a lot of times, I don't think it comes from a place of malice. I don't think genuinely getting people hurt or killed is really the idea. I think some people are young and stupid enough to really put this on the same level as sending a bunch of pizzas to someone's house. It's like, I sent the police to your house. That's egg on your face. Hopefully we can come up with some way to actually educate people that this isn't funny. People can get,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone has ever died from being teepeed, but someone could easily get hurt or killed with a swatting. So hopefully we find some way to communicate that to everyone so that they understand that, yeah, this is not a prank. This is not something you do to prank someone. This is something you do if you're really trying to kill somebody. And Janas Lu says, a respiratory therapist at a hospital. Just as an aside, my mom worked at a hospital, and something that I always noticed is that the respiratory therapists were the biggest smokers. Honestly, I don't know if you smoke. I hope not. But what's funny, I always found that so weird, is most of the people who went outside onto the into the break area to smoke were the respiratory therapists. It's like, what? You guys got to scrape that crap. You guys literally scrape crap out of the inside of people's lungs. What are you doing? You know how this turns out. Anyway, sorry, just an aside. So let us move on to a, sorry, the lyrical one says juvenile detention would be fitting for minors. Matthew says 500 hours community service and $5,000 if a kid. Yeah, you could, well, depending on your socio and economic standing, 5K probably means a lot more or less depending on who you are.
Yeah.
But,
Well, especially because
pardon.
if you're a kid, that 5,000's coming from your parents.
Yeah.
Not your money. Sure, they might take it out of your hide over the course of the next 10 years, but it's still coming from your parents, and that could seriously hurt people. We talk about in the news, we talk about how medical bills can really hurt low-income families and stuff. A $5,000 medical bill could basically bankrupt a lot of families out there, and give somebody a $5,000 fine, and you could do the same thing. But fines, community service, definitely. But if it's community service, I would have to put it. You would have to make sure it's somewhere where they can kind of get an idea, maybe like at a trauma center or something.
Look, this is what you could have caused.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yaslo says, I believe they should get juvenile detention, banning from internet service, and adds that who cares if it destroys their teenage life? They destroyed time and services that could have been used to help real instances. It's a fair point, and
Yeah.
I admit that depending on the case, a lot of time my mind goes in that direction too. The kind of, this is a bad person, screw them. I don't care that their life is now ruined. Yeah, I go there sometimes too, so I get where you're coming from. And it's a good point that it's like, yeah, you're wasting. Not only could someone get hurt or die from this, but at the particular swatting incident, but what if these services were needed somewhere else at the same time and were preoccupied with your crap, and people got hurt or killed because of that? Now, granted, a lot of time I don't know how often the SWAT team with the tanks and stuff are needed in two places at once, but we do militarize our police force for a reason. I'm sure it's a good one, not just like, well, they're there and the tank was a really good deal, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
So, all right, moving on. Let's see. Oh, yes. There's a Paula Deen game. There's a Kim Kardashian game too, but we're not talking about that. No, there is a mobile game. Paula Deen is a well, she's a former Food Network star. She's a
She's a
uh,
food Nazi. Is that what you said?
no, Food Network star, former Food
Oh, okay.
Network star. She got embroiled in some controversy that people were like, "Have you ever, at any point in your life, said the N word?" And I'm
Oh,
thinking,
that's that person.
and I'm
Okay, she's
thinking,
like, yeah, 50 years ago I said it
I'm
once,
thinking,
and then everybody, yeah.
this is a woman in her 60s from south of the Mason-Dixon line. Yes, she has said the N-word sometime in her life. Okay, that seems silly to me. But anyway, so there's a mobile game. It's Paula Deen. It's Cooking Mama with Paula Deen. Apparently, I'm
Yeah.
guessing it's something like that.
Paula Deen's Recipe Quest.
Yeah. So the art used for Paula Deen's Recipe Quest is uncomfortably similar to someone else's art of Paula Deen. And enough that this person is thinking about pursuing legal action, I believe, unless I'm making that up. Am I making that up?
He hasn't, from what I've read, he hasn't made the
He's
decision.
exploring his legal options. Okay.
He's exploring.
So, we can't really show you a picture, but the story is on Game Politics. It's also on Gamasutra, I believe.
Yeah.
The official art used in the actual mobile game, there are differences between the arts, but there are definitely similarities. The facial structures are the same. For example, neither character has a nose. The eyes and the mouth are exactly the same. I mean, exactly the same. Even the shape, where the shine on the lips is, how the division between the teeth is, the eyeballs, the eyelashes. It's exactly the same. Now, the differences between the art is the artist's art is the hair is different. It's kind of a shorter, more voluminous one. The official art's hair is a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Also, the
There's
official
not
art.
as many.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's thinner in the face and in
Mhm.
body in the official art, and in the other one she's a little bit shorter and squatter.
Yeah, and then the hair, not just the length of the hair, but in the game art, the hair is a lot more. I don't even know how to describe it, but it comes out in swishes and spikes, like how normal hair would come across.
Yeah.
While the art, the art from the guy claiming to be copied, it's more just curves and there's not really any bits sticking out except for a little bit on the bangs. So
I would, just looking at the two, it looks clear to me that one was definitely influenced by the other. I mean, it's not a copy paste job, but this was, I would, in my humble opinion, I mean, it looks like something that they definitely saw this art, liked it, and appropriated it for their own use. They're like, yeah, I like that. We'll just make her thinner. Um,
well,
what do you think?
when I looked at this, I was like, that's just chibi art style. So I did a Google search for chibi characters, and pretty much every chibi character that I saw on Google search was of this style. Yes, the eyes and the mouths were different, but that's just kind of an artistic choice for the different characters. Across this, but also this is a very common art style for mobile games of this variety. If they have a character in it and it's a game of this nature, then that's most likely going to be a chibi character. And so to me, yes, I see the similarities, but I find a lot of those similarities just there because they're both chibi characters, not because one just decided to reappropriate art from the other. Now, when it comes to copyright infringement, if this guy decides to actually go through with it, through with a lawsuit, Paula Deen's company, the people who made this game, are going to use that as a defense. It's like, hey, this is chibi art. Look at all these thousands of characters that we pulled off of Google. They all, if you told these artists to draw Paula Deen, they probably would have drawn a character very similar to what the two of us made. And, and that's going to be a very good defense as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
As for appropriation of certain elements, if the eyes, the mouth, and the hoop earrings, that's really all that the original artist has to go on. It's like, as a whole, those really don't define Paula Deen. Those eyes, that mouth, those earrings could have gone on any number of characters, and nobody would have said, recognized those as Paula Deen's eyes, mouth, and earrings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I don't think that's going to hold a lot of weight in court. But
yeah, I don't think this would legally go anywhere, but it looks pretty clear to me that they looked at his art and went, we like that, but we don't really want to hire this guy as an artist. But we do like that kind of style, so we'll do something similar, which seems kind of scummy to me. I mean, if you see someone's art and you're like, hey, that's pretty awesome, hire that person to do your art, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Let's see. Before we move on to a new topic, Yanazlu clarifies that not a smoker, so good on you, and asks, what do we think of Splatoon not having online voice chat? By the way, in case you guys didn't know, Splatoon, no online voice chat. And Nintendo was actually asked about this, and they're like, yeah, you know how in multiplayer big multiplayer games, Call of Duty, Battlefield, things like that, you know how people are kind of like mean and nasty to each other? Yeah, we don't want that to happen. Which I'm like, okay, I get it, but why not just restrict it to your friends list then?
Yeah, that's a good compromise, is just to only allow voice chat between your friends, because most likely that's who you're going to be playing with.
Yeah.
And and for a team game like this, like what Splatoon is going to be, voice chat's kind of critical. It's like, you want to be able to tell your friend, it's like, hey, I need your backup over here. I'm over on this quadrant. Get your butt over here. Because without voice chat, and I doubt it's going to have text chat, and text chat's kind of pointless during a high-speed game like this.
What are you, away from keyboard? No, I'm typing in each little letter.
Yeah, but yeah, I think this, voice chat's kind of critical in a game like this, especially between the people on the same team.
Actually, you could use a USB keyboard, but you'd have to put down the remote. So
yeah, and that's never going to work.
Yeah, I mean, voice chat isn't necessary, but it should be there. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's just, it's what you do. And what's funny is I'm a Nintendo fanboy, an unabashed Nintendo fanboy, but even I get a kind of fed up with some Nintendo fanboys who are like, just use Skype, you jackass. It's like, I shouldn't have to, I shouldn't have to set up voice over IP just to get, chat working in a game in 2015. I shouldn't. I could just call everyone up on the phone, but in every other system it tells me, when my friends are online and what they're playing, and I can all invite them over to my game and we can talk to each other. That's how it's worked for years. Why is this still a problem? Oh well, maybe whatever.
It's Nintendo.
Yeah, it's Nintendo. Maybe it is. So, long answer short, I think it's the wrong decision. Unless there is some technical reason that the Wii U just can't handle running the game and voice chat at the same time without causing a significant problem, which could be. Um, Although there's plenty of PlayStation 3 and 360 games that run games without and voice chat with no problem, and the Wii U's at least that powerful. You know,
Yeah.
we would hope that it's at least as powerful as systems that are 6 and 7 years its senior. Yeah. So Matthew says, or the fanboys defending Nintendo's YouTube stuff. Yeah, for those of you who aren't aware, Nintendo is one of the strictest publishers out there with copyright claiming, content IDing, and monetizing any video you may do that uses footage of their games. And people don't like that. You know, some of the big YouTubers, the folks who actually make a living doing this, they're like, you know, this is what I do for money. You know, this is how I support myself and put food in my fridge. If you're going to take that income from me, I'm just not going to do your games, and you're missing out on an audience of several million people. You know, you look at the most recent Nintendo Direct, and the last time I looked at it, it had 800,000 views, which is great. But PewDiePie has like 35 million subscribers. This guy has tens of millions of views on every single video. That's a lot of eyeballs that are not on your Nintendo Direct. But PewDiePie and a bunch of other people just aren't going to bother doing your games because it's, you know, not because they're being spiteful or anything, because this is how they make a living, and it's just not worth their time, unless they're crazy fanboys like me and are just super passionate about something. So, in Short Side S, are they putting pre-recorded messages in Splatoon? Something replace voice chat? Not that I've seen in any of the preview. You know, like pre-canned responses, like "Good job." You know, not that I've seen. Laxter37, hey, I didn't know you were in the chat. I'm hoping they allow Wiimote controls. I've always thought that if done properly, it could be close to the precision of a mouse and free to play. I think you mean first-person shooters. Well, the Wii had a few first-person shooters that worked with the pointer and the nunchuck, and yeah, it works great.
Yeah.
You know, if you played the Conduit, which I honestly thought sucked. All due respect to High Voltage Studio, I really admire those guys' enthusiasm, but man, the Conduit was not good in my opinion. Yeah. Anyway.
There was that, and you know, Metroid Prime 3, and was Red Steel a first-person shooter?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Well, there was shooting. There was shooting in it. A lot of it was sword slashy stuff, but there was plenty of guns. So moving on to a new topic, and oh hey, look, last one. So I admit I didn't know we were talking about this until late, so I didn't really brush up on this one as close as I could. So I'll try and summarize this the best I can. There is the Fine Young Capitalist about a year ago. Ran a little competition trying to where a bunch of female game designers pitched game ideas, and everyone voted on which one they liked best. And then that designer worked with a team, Autobotica, I believe, to bring that vision to fruition and put it on Steam Greenlight. Now, what came out of that contest was a game called Afterlife Empire, which rips off an original idea that Zachary had. You should have.
Yes, it ripped off my idea. Yeah, I mentioned this in the comments there, but yeah, a long time ago I came up with a game idea that was basically this game, and where you're a ghost in a house, and it's your job to scare the people in the house, and you know, and you got to scare them to the point where they freak out and they leave, but not to the point where they do something to hurt you. And you know, in this game, it goes about that slightly differently than what I had planned out. But but basically the same game idea. But the thing is, I never shared my idea. I never developed my idea. So kudos to these people for actually coming up with it and putting it to paper, and also to code. Because I think it's a great idea for a game.
Yeah, it's
so
kind of like
I'm definitely going to
Beetlejuice
look
meets
into
Sin
this one.
City or something.
Yeah, that's big. It comes across like that. It's
So you have to balance.
it's a tycoon game.
Yeah, you have to balance haunting people so that you can keep your ghostly presence in the world with driving them, scaring them so bad that there's no one to move into the buildings you're building.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the game. Sounds really cool. I actually, genuinely, I think that sounds really cool. I haven't watched if there's a trailer for it, I didn't want. There is a trailer for it, or a teaser trailer at least, because that's what the whole article is about.
Yeah.
What happened was a lot of people from 4chan donated to the Indiegogo campaign. And one of the goals was to, if you reach a certain fundraising goal, you can design a character to put in the game. And they said, hey, if we over here on 4chan all pool our stuff, and can we donate together to get up to that reward tier and design a character for the game? And the people running the show said, yeah, okay, sure. So they did. And the character that they introduced was the Vivian James character, who has become somewhat of the mascot of Gamergate. Vivian James is an orange-haired girl in a green and purple horizontal striped sweater and jeans and socks, I think, or white shoes. Maybe I think they're socks. Yeah, she's a cute little anime girl. So apparently she is, I don't know if she's a ghost or a tenant, but her character is in the game. But what some people thought was kind of weird is the trailer actually thanks Gamergate. I would have to, I didn't research this one, so I'd have to go back and look at the timing, but I believe when this was happening, this was pre-Gamergate. So thanking Gamergate is a little weird. One, because I don't think it existed at the time. And two, to a lot of people, Gamergate is so closely tied with hate and harassment and being a jackass online. So a lot of people are like, oh, a bunch of people pooled their resources to get a character into the game. We get that, but do you really want to thank Gamergate? I mean, that might... There's a faction of people who would be like, oh, man, I'm not supporting that. So that's where some of the controversy came from. But then it went a step further into something I had never heard of because I don't hang out on 4chan. No, nothing against you if you do. I just don't.
I've never been there myself.
Way too busy looking at cat videos, because I haven't seen all of them yet, and I will. So I had to look this one up because apparently the combination of purple and green, which are the colors of Vivian James' character's shirt, is supposed to remind everybody of a GIF, a short animated cartoon of Piccolo, who is a character from Dragon Ball Z, one of the worst shows in the history of entertainment. Just my opinion. Piccolo, who's a green alien in a purple jumpsuit, raping Goku, who's the yellow-haired guy in an orange jumpsuit. Graphically so.
Well, he's yellow-haired when he's Super Saiyan.
Only when he goes Super Saiyan.
Black-haired.
What is Super Saiyan? Well, essentially, if you clench your butt and go, ah, then you go, your hair stands on end, it turns yellow, and you go Super Saiyan, and your power goes over 9,000. Something like that. Although I think Goku and friends should have a magical girl transformation like Sailor Moon and all those, where the background goes all colorful and the camera spins around, then their clothing disappears and new clothing appears on top of it. That would be great. Anyway, getting off topic. So This little animated image of Piccolo raping Goku circulated on 4chan back in the day so often that it was a daily thing. Some people referred to it as the daily dose. And it became so ubiquitous that people started taking the predominant colors of Piccolo, green and purple, and so every time a picture with green and purple would show up, people would be, what's that remind you of? Um, or they would, use Photoshop to color someone's clothing in the green and purple style and go, you can't get it out of your mind, can you? So some people take the Vivian James character not only being a mascot of Gamergate, widely seen as hate and aggression and being a jerk on the internet, but
Hmm.
also representative of a aggressive, abusive rape joke, which was a new one on me. I hadn't actually heard of that, and even if it is. Um, would anyone outside of 4chan actually ever pick up on that? I mean, do you think
I've
outside of
never heard of it, so
yeah, I mean outside of 4chan, do you think? I mean, it's so niche and so inside joke. I don't know that the combination of those two particular colors would be a trigger for anyone unless they're really familiar with Chan culture.
hmm.
So that, as best I can summarize it without really, really researching it, and I do apologize that I didn't, but I had to watch Daredevil on Netflix, all of it. That seemed to be the gist of the controversy, such that it was.
Yeah.
Zachary, do you have any major opinions on this? How they're advertising the game with the tribute to the use of Vivian James, or the fact that they're crediting Gamergate or thanking Gamergate?
Yeah. Be honest, I never heard of this thing until the article on Game Politics was published yesterday. So, or 2 days ago.
Mhm.
So I'm probably the last person you could ask for comments on this because, it just none of it makes sense to me. I can understand that yeah, when they did the fundraiser, they put in a tier to create a playable character in the game, and that's what happened. Somebody bought that tier, and this was the character that ended up getting into it,
Mhm.
and and then they Vivian James and Gamergate. The Gamergate thing. The Fine Young Capitalist said something about that's going to change. They're going to remove Gamergate from that video, but the video is out there. Everybody knows about it now. So
Mhm.
I just think they should just suck it up and keep it. but
And now, do you think it would behoove the developers to offer two versions of the game, one with Vivian and one without? Or do you think
um,
perhaps they should just leave that up to the modding community and say, look, if anyone's really bothered by Vivian James or anything, just mod it out. Totally fine.
um, that was James's suggestion, was to
Mm.
have two SKUs, and I think um, I don't know. I think that's probably not the best solution because I've been following a developer, Level Up Labs, Lars Doucet, and he had a big article, actually a couple of articles about that very idea about having multiple SKUs, multiple downloads, because he's currently HDifying one of his current games, and so he's like, his conclusion is that he's just going to give that new version of the game to everybody that's already bought it, and it's just going to become the version of the game at that point on, because it's just too much of a hassle to maintain two versions of the game and deal with all the confusion and everything. So I think, yeah, just leave it in as an option. Just say, have it in the like some games in the past had a blood or no blood mode, and just have that in the options. First thing, it's like, do you want to see anything to do with Gamergate or Vivian James? No. okay, your game is now Vivian James free. You know, that
I
might
think,
bug some people, but
yeah, I
that's a
think
good
the
compromise.
argument for taking out the credit for Gamergate specifically has merit because I believe this was pre-Gamergate anyway, and it should probably thank all backers. I mean, this wasn't a Gamergate funded game. This was funded by a lot of different people, including
Hmm.
people on Reddit. So it should probably say, again, I didn't watch the teaser, so I don't know exactly what it says, but it should probably, instead of crediting someone specifically, like your biggest donor, you probably want to, thanks to all our backers for making this game possible. And,
Hmm.
something like that might be more appropriate. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't see really a need for two SKUs. More options are always better.
Yeah.
Release a day one patch. Say, here's the take Vivian out of the game patch for anyone who wants it. Stuff like that could work. Um, also, Froylin13 says, "Hey everybody, it's time to play the Super Podcast Action Committee drinking game. Step 1. Each time someone says, take a sip. Step 2. Die of alcohol poisoning. If you want to die faster, um, like, it's one of the ones I'm trying to move away from. You know, you know, um, because I say things like, and then I'll go like, I will do that, and I just said again. So this
Well,
is why we
it's
this is why we have only our viewership is only in the teens because we keep killing them off with drinking games.
yeah.
It is really difficult. I said it again. I watch my YouTube videos, and the ones I don't script. And this is why I script. Uh, I will pick up on the things that the knows and the likes and uhs, and realize how irritating that is. And I know it is, and I apologize for that. But do point that stuff out because sometimes you just don't know you're doing it. And I apologize to anyone we've gotten killed. I actually I made up a drinking game the other day. Something that I'm thinking about doing as a video, but I don't drink, and I've never been drunk, so I don't know how to act drunk. I think it might be a funny idea for video, though, so tell me if you think this is funny. The idea is watch the upcoming E3 2015 press conferences, and every time they show footage from a game, but none of it is actual gameplay, take a drink. That that might actually kill somebody.
Possibly. Yeah.
Uh, that is a pet peeve of mine, man. Uh, when there was another, when companies show off video games and don't show any game footage. Now, sometimes it's really early and they don't have any game footage. A lot of times what they show is in-engine, but it's not representative of the actual game. And you see this from EA a lot, especially with their
Yeah.
sports games. You'll see the camera with the player running straight at the camera. It's like, that is not in the game because you couldn't see what you were doing. Show me what the game actually looks like when I'm playing it. Um, so that might be, yeah. Matthew says you would be dead. Dream Peppers 99, who says totally dead. Um, yeah, if I can think of a way to actually perform that correctly, I may have to experiment with alcohol or hang out with some buddies and watch them get drunk and try to mimic that. Um, also, I don't know. Maybe I can figure out what a good drink would be that water looks exactly like that. I don't know, vodka, tequila, something. There's a lot of clear alcohols, I think, that I could probably get a bottle and fill it with water, and it would look exactly the same. And then if I could pull it off with a performance, it might be really funny, and make the point I want it to make. Anyway, that was just an idea I had the other day. I'll have to ask my mom about getting drunk. She might know. I'm not implying anything by that, by the way.
Okay.
So, Kahlua, there's a good one. The chocolatey one. Kahlua and cream. So, yeah, I think that's about it for the show. Any
All right.
final thoughts on any of the topics you want to hit?
Uh,
Laxter says just drink apple juice. Like, who was that back in the day? One of the Rat Pack, Dean Martin, rumored that he actually had a glass of apple juice. So,
nice.
all right. So,
All
let
right.
us plug our stuff and be away. Andrew Eisen here. Eisen is how you spell the last name. Plug it into YouTube, and you can find all my fun videos, like my most recent video, my favorite thing about Anita Sarkeesian's Tropes versus Women videos. And, my favorite thing about Anita Sarkeesian's videos video is the title card. I thought that turned out really well.
Yeah, it did. I
I
thought
just
it
think
was
it's so
pretty
funny.
good.
Um, I have some videos that I'm working on, like showing off my Powerpuff paraphernalia. The 30 Days of Netflix thing should be coming up. I'm working on a video where I scientifically prove that the Wii U is better than the PS4 and the Xbox One.
I'm looking forward to that one.
I'm sure I will have no argument on this one. I prove it with science and math. The interesting thing about this one is I'm researching it, and I'm like, oh god, this is taking it. I had the idea, and I thought it would be funny, and I started actually looking into the numbers, and it's become a lot of work. So that one might take a while because there are a lot of. I'm one of the cruxes of the video is how many exclusives are in each console. Nintendo has the most. Wait till I frame it correctly, because just having the most exclusives doesn't mean squat. If you look at all the exclusives on the Wii U, most of them are crap. Most of them are eShop crap. You look at the Metacritic scores and it's all like 11. you know. Um, so that's something else I'm working on. Twitter at Andrew Eisen. Facebook is Andrew Eisen YouTube. So check all that stuff out. And this is the last time you'll see me in this apartment because I'm moving Monday.
All right.
Because they jacked up my rent $150, and I'm not paying $13.30 for a 400 square foot studio apartment. Although, interestingly, I looked at what this unit is going for. They were being kind to me, to be fair. A year lease for this size studio apartment at this particular complex is $1,580. They were going to let me stay for $13.30. I'm moving to a place for $1,225, so a little bit more than $100 less. That is literally twice the size of this place. I'm just not in walking distance of the beach anymore. Oh well.
Well, that explains why your rent is so high there.
Yeah, I live in Pacific Beach. When I moved here 10 years ago, it was $955, which was expensive for a 400 square foot studio apartment, 72 square feet of which is the balcony. That rent has gone up every year by an average of about $2,250. This year it went up $150. So I've been paying $1,180, and no, that doesn't include utilities. And they said it's up to $13.30 now, and I said, well, it's been fun, but bye. So yeah. Anyway, Zachary, plug away.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter at EasyKnight, and you can also follow my game development stuff at DK_gaming, and that's DivineKnightGaming.com. And we actually just released a game on itch.io. It's the Manly Boy Collection. It's just a trio of games that we developed and had on demo on a demo station at Super BitCon a couple of weeks ago. There's a maze game, a vertical shooter, and a single dungeon adventure game, which we developed as a prototype. And they're fun. It's free to download, so give it a try. It's for there's Windows and Mac and Windows and Linux builds for it. I don't have a Mac build yet because I don't have a Mac computer to build the game on. But eventually there will be Mac builds for it. And so check out that and all of our other game development work there. And if you're interested in the game development scene, check out okgamedev.com and okgamedevs on Twitter.
All right. A couple of user comments before we sign out. Matthew asks, for the video where I'm scientifically proving Wii U's better than PS4 and Xbox One, am I controlling for the time of system being out? In other words, am I mathematically controlling for the fact that the Wii U has been out for a year longer than the PS4 and the Xbox One, so it's had more time to garner its exclusives? Yes, I am. So... yes, I did think of that. But if you have other things that you think I might not have thought of, and that's true, I have a lot on my mind right now. Send them my way. Delirical One says Capcom announced a new Monster Hunter game for 3DS called Monster Hunter Stories for Japan in 2016. Says it has a nice trailer. I'll be interested in checking that out because I love Monster Hunter. I would love it more on the console. I really don't want to play it on the 3DS, but I will check it out. Dream Peppers asked what we think of Yoshi in Mario Maker. I wasn't aware Yoshi was in Mario Maker, but Dream Peppers links to a Nintendo page that has a picture of Mario Maker and Yoshi's in there. I'm not surprised Yoshi's in there. They have a Super Mario World theme, so...
Yeah.
What I'm actually most interested in seeing next is how the cape power-up from Super Mario World translates to the other themes. Super Mario Brothers, Mario, and Mario 3. So I'll be really interested
Mario
in seeing
3,
that.
it'll probably just be replaced with the leaf, the raccoon tail.
Maybe
they're essentially the same thing.
The flying controls a lot differently, and you do have to change on the fly. One thing I did notice from the footage is that a Wiggler, the yellow caterpillar-looking thing, which was introduced in Super Mario World, I believe, has a brand new sprite for Super Mario Brothers theme, and Wiggler was not in Super Mario Brothers, so it's really cool seeing I think Thwomps might be the same way, so I think the sprite for Thwomps is new too. Let me check out.
There weren't Thwomps in the first Super Mario Brothers.
Not that I remember, anyway. Let me see. Did anyone have any final comments here?
If there were, they would have been in World 8.4, and I've been to World 8.4 a number of times, and I don't remember seeing them. Yeah.
And as a final comment, referring to Vivian James in Afterlife Tycoon, what is it called?
Something like that. Yeah.
Says, and I forgot it. Jan something. I'm sorry. I forgot. Jan Oslu. Says, who cares if a cute anime girl is in there? At least it's not Pedo Bear. Yep. And with that, let us close the show. So thank you, everyone, for watching. You've been listening to Super Podcast Action Committee episode 138. We are a weekly show, except for the weeks we don't do it. But typically every Saturday night, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can find it on YouTube and on Game Politics. If you want to participate in the chat, if you can. I know some of you work. Check out GamePolitics.com or my Twitch channel. In the meantime, send us email at superpackpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at superpackpodcast. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes, and like us on Facebook. We'll spend the week desperately trying to get over our habits of saying like and you know.
Well, it's like that.
Yeah. All right, everyone.
I'll have to work that into every sentence from now on.
Yes. Have a groovy week. Watch Daredevil if you have Netflix, because it's pretty cool.
It is a good show. Yes.
See you next weekend.
See ya. Bye.